Thank you. Siman Tzadeh Din Aruva Tchumen. So we'll finish Aruva Tchumen tonight between the two nights. So Beis Irshi Mukefes Chaima, a city that's surrounded by a wall. Even if the city is very large, Malach is Kula Vibura Misham Tchum Shabbos. Then you can carry the entire city and the Ibura, which we said yesterday is 70 amas, approximately 140 feet, and then Misham Tchum Shabbos. From there to Tchum Shabbos. Even a city that doesn't have a wall, and the houses are all close to each other. As long as there isn't in between each house more than 70 and 2/3 amas, it's considered all connected. And it's considered all part of one city, even if you can walk for many days, which is exactly why people are always asking if LIJ Hospital and North Shore Hospital are in the Tchum to Far Rockaway, Lawrence, and what's it called? That other hospital, Winthrop. They're all in the Tchum, as far as I know, because there's constantly buildings and houses all the way. From the last house, that's where you count the karfif, the 70 amas, and then the Tchum Shabbos starts from there. Gimel, ain't nice than karfif you only put a karfif to a city. Ain't nice than karfif to one lone house. You don't count 70 amas, meaning your 70 amas counts from the house. Elatekef mikira bayis, the chutzah, right from the wall of the house and outside you count it. Maschel limdoi Tchum Shabbos, that's where you start to count the Tchum Shabbos. Or if it's fenced in. If you have a fenced in yard, then you start the tchum from after the fence. You have two cities next to each other. You give 70 amas to each one. If there isn't between them more than the shir of two karfifas, they're both considered one city. Right? Meaning as long as they're within 250 feet of each other, that's considered one big city. Hey, yesh kama dvarim b'inyan medidas Tchum Shabbos lahakol. There's many things with Tchum Shabbos, measuring Tchum Shabbos to be mekel ve'in lasos ki im al yedei baki, and you shouldn't do it without a baki. Vav hanitzach lechas b'Shabbos abiyam tov yosim Tchum Shabbos. Let's say you have to go more than the Tchum. This happens upstate a lot. Tzarich laniach be'erev Shabbos erev Yom Tov yiru b'Tchumen, and on erev Shabbos or erev Yom Tov, because the Tchumen is on erev Yom Tov too. You need to place an erev. Tzarich lanicha b'soich Tchum ha'ir b'makom shayamutu lo lelecha sham. And he needs to put it within the tchum of the city that he is going there. Wherever he places the eruv, that's where he's living, and then he has from there 2,000 amas. So wherever he puts his eruv, then he gets 2,000 amas in either direction. And therefore it's clearly understood. What he gains on this side, where he places the eruv, and then he loses it on the other side. Derech mashal, for an example, if he puts the eruv 2,000 amas to the east side of the city, then he is not allowed to walk to the west because he's as if he's dwelling in the east. He's already distant from the Makom Dirasei, the Tchum Shabbos. Zayin Ketzaros in a Eruv. How do you make the Eruv? Lekef pas kedei mozen shtei sudas. You take the bread in order to enough bread to eat 2 meals. And ayin leel, how much that is? I lifton, or you take lifton means anything that you eat with bread. Kigan betzalim, onions, itznayin, radishes, or kadamish yesh bashir la'achle impas shukadei mazon besu. This meaning you have to have enough that you can eat it with bread. Like lamashal nowadays would be cream cheese or tchina or things like that. So just enough to eat 2 slices of bread, let's say. Chutz min hamelach, except for salt and mayim and water, shein ma'arvim, and you can't make an eruv with them. V'aylech el hamakom shehu roitzel anichai, and you go to the place where you want to put it. V'varech baruch atah Hashem elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzimon al mitzvos eruv. V'aymer b'zeh eruv yehi muter li leilech mimakom zeh alfayim am l'chol ruach. He said, with this eruv, then I can go 2,000 amas in each direction. V'chayzel l'beis, and then he comes home. Yachal aniach eruv echad l'kama shabbosas. And you're allowed to make one eruv for many Shabbos, but you have to put it in a place that it's watch, meaning that you're not going to lose the eruv. Shouldn't get lost or ruined. In front of my mother's house, they have some chassidim put in the country. They put an eruv right in front of her house on a pole for the whole summer. But they come check on it also, so they're very responsible because they need it in order to go to the mikveh by a different bungalow colony. Ches yachol l'shliach is a erev al yedei shliach shenichei b'shvila. You can send the erev with a shliach. V'yivarach hashliach v'yam b'zeh erev yehemut l'flaini leilech. With this erev, it's mutter to planning to go. V'tzarach shiyah shliach gadol bardas. The shliach needs to be a gadol and a bardas. Al yedei katan ein shalchan. You can't do it with a minor. Also not with a guy or somebody who doesn't believe in Erev. Even if the shliach doesn't come back, you can rely on him. I mean, you send the guy to put out your Erev Tchum, and he says, I'll do it on my way to the other city for Shabbos. So you have no idea. Obviously, this is pre-cell phone days. You have no idea if the guy actually did it. You can rely on him. The chazaka shliach is the shlichus. The chazaka the shliach does the shlichus. Test. You're allowed to make one Erev for many people. And that's as long as the Erev has a shir for each and every person. Right? Meaning not everybody has to go make the Erev. One can do it, just put enough food for however many people are going to use it. It's like we learned 2 days ago. The way you do it on behalf of others is you give it to one person and he picks up the food on behalf of everybody else, and then he gives it back to you. You cannot make an Erev Tchum unless the person agrees. Meaning Eruv Chatzeros, you're allowed to because he has only what to gain. But Erev Tchum you can't because the guy wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, we made you an Erev Tchum to the east side," and then he said, "What do you mean? I wanted to go up to the west side." So therefore, you can't do that. And if somebody is putting it down and he's a shliach for everybody, so Aimer his lashon is yehemutu leflaini v'leflaini. You say the people's names. Yud. You have to put the erev in a place where you have the ability halachically to eat it ben hashmashas without doing an issa daraisa. If you put it into a hole, and you cover with dirt, it's not erev because you're not allowed to dig a hole on Shabbos. That's issa daraisa. But if you close up that hole with a stone, then it is an erev because to move muksa is a derabanan. The son of Elon, if you put it in a tree, if it's a hard tree, then erev, that's an erev because you're not going to move the tree. But and not using a tree on Shabbos is a derabanan. But if you put it on a tree or reeds that are soft, then it's not an erev because you might come and break off a piece, in which case it's an iser daraisa. Yud Aleph, let's say you put the Erev in a city. Then, then the whole city is considered his Erev, and he's able to go through the entire city. Even if the city is very large. And you can, same thing, you go out of the city, and you're allowed to even go with their extra part of the city, the pregnant part of the city, like we said, and it's Tchum Shabbos. Because when you put your Erev in that city, it's as if you live in that city. So, for example, you live in Far Rockaway, and you put the Erev, let's say, we don't need an Erev, but theoretically, you put the Erev in Cedarhurst, so then you become like you are in Cedarhurst, and then your Tchum doesn't go from where you left the Erev. Your Tchum goes from the edge of Cedarhurst's Tchum. Okay. Have a fine night on that.